Hi, my name's Eric, and I'll be reading you selections from the e-edition of today's Cape Cod Times. Today's date is Monday, October 20th of 2025. We'll start with the weather, as we always do, and across the Cape and Islands today you can expect it to be windy with rain at times, a high of 63 and a low of 50 in the overnight, breezy with showers early in the evening and then clearing later. Tomorrow, plenty of sunshine, high of 63, low of 53. On Wednesday, variable clouds with a few showers, breezy, high of 64, low of 48. On Thursday, mostly sunny. Friday, mostly sunny. Both days, highs in the low 60s, and in the overnight, lows in the mid-40s. The sun will rise at 6:59 a.m. It will set at 5:52 p.m. We'll have 10 hours, 53 minutes of daylight. The moon will rise at 6:06 a.m. and sets at 5:16 p.m. Now we'll head to the front of the paper where the lottery results used to be kept. And we read these lottery results because somebody asked for them. If there's something you would like read to people who are blind or print disabled, you can email us at info@audiblelocalledger.org or call us at 508-539-2030, and we'll consider reading it. And if you miss any of the information we share in our readings, you can always go to audiblelocalledger.org and click on the Listen tab. We have a fully disability-compliant website. Any kind of assistive technology should work with it. Go to the Listen tab, click on that, and the All Reads to the Blind has 150 rotating stories and articles and newspaper readings, all in chronological order. So the latest might be, after I publish this one, the Cape Cod Times, and before it might be the Fall River Herald News. All of this is free for people who are blind or print disabled at audiblelocalledger.org. For the latest lottery results, since the Cape Cod Times no longer produces them, we go to masslottery.com. And so for the numbers game of Sunday, October 19th, in the midday drawing, the numbers were 2014. Again, yesterday's midday drawing of the numbers game, 2014. In the evening drawing last night of the numbers game, the results were 3993. Again, last night's numbers game results in the evening drawing, 3993. Good luck to all who play, and remember us if you win. On the front page of today's Cape Cod Times, the headline above the fold, if there was such a thing in a digital newspaper, "One day at a time," reads the headline. "Woman critically injured on bike trail is home from hospital," by Zane Razak in Brewster. Hiker and retired nurse Lynn Forrester was accustomed to thinking the Cape Cod Rail Trail's a safe place to stay in shape, until an e-bike rider collided into her in early September, leaving her mostly blind in one eye and believing that better laws and enforcement could have prevented the crash. Forrester and her husband Gary are avid hikers, once embarking on a 200-plus mile trek 10 years ago in England. To stay in shape for hiking, she would take to the rail trail, walking 5 miles most mornings, while her husband preferred the woods. "It's also my time to be alone," she said during an interview at her Brewster home. "I always thought the rail trail was safer than tripping over roots." Around 10:30 a.m. on September 10th, though, Forrester was halfway through her walk near mile 5.6, around 522 Pleasant Lake Ave in Harwich. She was headed back home when a female bicyclist on an e-bike suddenly collided into her from behind. The bicyclist was riding with a group when she heard someone say, "Oh, look at the water," referring to Long Pond, according to a Harwich Police Department report. The bicyclist looked to her right briefly, then struck Forrester. The bicyclist told police she never saw Forrester before the crash. Forrester's head slammed the ground as the handlebars of the e-bike went into her left eye. Forrester said she was conscious for about 10 minutes after the collision. Harwich Fire Department rescuers used specialized tools to remove the handlebars from the bike before trimming the handlebars down, leaving a small part still attached to Forrester, according to the police report. An ambulance then brought her to Cape Cod Regional Technical High School, where she was transferred to a med-flight helicopter that took her to Mass General in Boston. Doctors have told Forrester she's lost sight in that eye. She said she's not 100% sure that's totally true, saying she's seen some light. Forrester also suffered facial and skull fractures, as well as subarachnoid bleeds. She said part of her head is still numb. Forrester spent 24 days in the hospital, has now been home for 2 weeks after being in bed for nearly a month. She said she struggled to stand and had to hold on to something to remain steady. Almost every day, she goes to Spaulding Outpatient Center in Orleans for physical, occupational, and speech therapy. She walks around Drummer Boy Path using walking poles to gain strength. It's just getting stronger every day, said Forrester. Every day it's a little bit better. Her daughter recently visited for 2 nights, and her son, who lives in England, was home for a month to help. We've had great family support. It's a little different because it's never been that way. I've always been taking care of everybody, so it's kind of a flip-flop, said Forrester. But right now, my calendar, it's just every day is doctor appointments or therapy. Forrester also praised the first responders, saying she plans to meet with Harwich firefighters soon to thank them. Her values and personality are still completely intact, said her husband. As soon as she was waking up, you could see every day, interacting with family members, that this was Lynn. And it made it easy to know that she was going to be there for herself and for us, said Gary Forrester. As her body got stronger, she really got quite good in terms of preservation of her personality and her thinking. She's fine the way she is, that's for sure. I'm sure she'll recover more. Harwich police have told the family criminal charges will not be filed against the bicyclist, said Gary Forrester, saying witnesses said it appeared speed was not a factor, and that the e-bike was the level allowed on the Cape Cod Rail Trail. The State Department of Conservation and Recreation operates the paved 25-mile trail, which runs from South Yarmouth to South Wellfleet. The use of Class 1 e-bikes is allowed on improved trails of an appropriate width, including the Cape Cod Rail Trail, according to a State Department of Recreation and Conservation official. A Class 1 e-bike is a pedal assist bike that only provides assistance when the bicyclist is pedaling. A Class 2 e-bike has a throttle, which gives riders a motor boost without pedaling, and has a maximum assisted speed of 20 miles per hour. E-bikes have become more popular within the last 5 years. Supporters of e-bikes say it's an environmentally friendly and accessible choice that can ease traffic congestion and be a helpful option for those with physical limitations. The maximum speed limit on the rail trail is 15 miles per hour, according to the department. Lynn Forrester wants to see the speed limit enforced on the rail trail and e-bikes banned altogether, saying she's decided to make that my mission. Like motorcycles, e-bikes should be on the road, she said. I don't want to be vindictive. I'm just not that type of person, but I just think this is the time. They're just coming onto the roads and they're increasing exponentially, said Forrester. The State Department of Conservation and Recreation previously told the Times it's working to implement speed boards on most of the agency's shared-use paths to remind users to be aware of their speed and slow down. This was done on the 4.1-mile Southwest Corridor Park in Boston, and the department saw positive results. I thank my faith, I thank my family, and I accept this is what's happened to me. I just have to adjust. I got to go through therapy and figure out how to see with one eye. We have to just kind of take it one day at a time, she said. The next headline on the front page of the Cape Cod Times, dated October 20th, Cape Bridge Project Faces Uncertainty, by Zane Razak. Hundreds of millions of dollars earmarked to fund the replacement of the two 90-year-old Cape Cod bridges that cross the canal face uncertainty. The Trump administration announced a pause in $11 billion in U.S. Army Corps of Engineers projects, blaming the move on the government shutdown. The Democrat shutdown has drained the Army Corps of Engineers' ability to manage billions of dollars in projects, wrote White House Budget Chief Ross Vaught Friday in a social media post on X. The Corps will be immediately pausing over $11 billion in lower priority projects and considering them for cancellation, including projects in New York, San Francisco, Boston, and Baltimore. More information to come from the Army Corps of Engineers. The federal government shut down on October 1st when Congress failed to reach an agreement on government funding. Republicans have been supporting a bill that would extend funding at current levels until November 21st, according to USA Today, but most Democrats are refusing to support any legislation that doesn't restore cuts to Medicaid and extend subsidies under the Affordable Care Act. The October 16th vote saw the Republican-backed stopgap bill defeated after a 51-45 vote. It needs 60 votes to pass. All New England senators, besides Maine Independent Senator Angus King, have voted against the Republicans' bill. In a statement, Governor Maura Healey, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Ed Markey, and Congressman Bill Keating said the bridges are functionally obsolete, nearing the end of their usable life, and are essential for the safety of Cape Codders and visitors from across the country and world. While we are aware that the White House Office of Management and Budget tweeted that the Trump administration is pausing $11 billion in U.S. Army Corps of Engineers projects, we have not received any information from the federal government regarding this action, reads the statement. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers currently has committed $350 million to the Sagamore Bridge and $250 million to the Bourne Bridge replacements, wrote Healey, Warren, Markey, and Keating. This project is moving forward with funding appropriated by a bipartisan Congress and lawfully awarded by the federal government. Our focus remains on rebuilding both bridges and delivering the safe, reliable transportation infrastructure that our residents, visitors, and businesses deserve, continues the statement. The Cape Cod Bridges Replacement Project is estimated to cost $4.5 billion. A 2023 Cape Cod Commission report found that the two bridges support 34,000 daily commuters, 6,600 daily truck trips, and 122 daily school bus crossings. The bridges are the only roadway connection to Cape Cod for 5 million annual visitors, according to the report. Plans currently call for the Sagamore Bridge to first be replaced by two bridges, one carrying traffic onto the Cape, one carrying traffic off Cape. The Bourne Bridge would also be replaced by two bridges. The state senator for Plymouth and Barnstable, Dylan Fernandes, also issued a statement calling the news deeply concerning. It is deeply concerning that this lawless Trump administration, which has cut health care and food benefits for 300,000 Massachusetts residents to pay for tax cuts for the rich, is now attempting to steal funds dedicated to the Cape Bridge project, wrote Fernandes. Trump and congressional Republicans couldn't care less about the lives of Cape and Islanders, and this cut could do irreparable damage to our region. This action by the Trump administration threatens to close the Cape bridges, and we're going to fight back to ensure Cape and Islanders have safe and reliable transportation access. Massachusetts has secured $1.72 billion in federal funding for the project, including $350 million from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. More than $700 million in state funding has also been pledged for this project. There's also a photo on the front page today, and the caption reads, "Sixth grader Malia Gonzalez is flanked by her mother, Laura Clark, and Sandwich Fire Department Fire Prevention Officer Andrew Mandel at her Oak Ridge School. Mandel taught a fire prevention program to the class on October 7th, and then the next day, Malia's home had a flash fire on the outside porch after her mother had used some window caulk. Mela went inside, called 911, and helped get her sister and family dog outside while her mother sprayed down the fire with a garden hose. Laura Clark praised her daughter's calm demeanor through the entire episode. The fire department presented Malia with a certificate and treated her class to a pizza party lunch at the school on October 17th. Moving inside the paper, as we keep it local, two Hyannis men set to be arraigned Monday after Saturday's shooting by Zane Razak. Two Hyannis teenagers are facing charges after a 28-year-old Hyannis woman was shot on Saturday, October 18th, according to the Barnstable Police Department. An 18-year-old Hyannis man and a 19-year-old Hyannis man were arrested on Saturday following the shooting. They'll both be charged with assault to murder, armed with a firearm, assault and battery with a firearm, discharging a firearm within 500 feet of a dwelling, and possession of ammunition without a firearms identification card. Both men are scheduled to be arraigned in Barnstable District Court Monday, October 20th. They were taken into custody by members of the Cape Cod Regional Law Enforcement SWAT team with assistance from the Barnstable Police Patrol Division and their K-9 unit, according to police. The 28-year-old woman is recovering in a Boston area hospital and is expected to survive, according to police. The investigation into the shooting continues. Barnstable police detectives, with help from Barnstable patrol officers and the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office K-9 unit and Bureau of Criminal Investigations, have executed several warrants to find and secure evidence. Barnstable police officers were called to a home at 174 Main Street in Hyannis around 4:15 a.m. on Saturday, where they found the 28-year-old woman with a gunshot wound to her chest, police said. Police rendered first aid, after which the woman was brought to Cape Cod Hospital and flown by medical helicopter to a Boston hospital, according to Police Lieutenant Kevin Fulham. The early morning shooting led to an hours-long standoff with a police SWAT team until the two young men surrendered, emerging with their arms up from the home. From the Cape and Islands section, Sentinel mission leaves Cape Waters on a round-the-world science trip by Steve Heslip. A trip to cover anything at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute's dock is always an adventure. It's a front-row look at the world's most cutting-edge technology. What sounds like science fiction is reality. Imagine sailing around the globe underwater for 1,553 days, covering 63,463 miles, stopping at 7 ports of call along the way: Spain, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Falkland Islands, and Brazil, and then a return home to Cape Cod waters. This is not Jules Verne's fictional Around the World in 80 Days. It's the Sentinel mission, a joint venture between Teledyne Marine, Rutgers University, and Hui. The torpedo-looking glider is just over 8 feet long, weighs about 376 pounds. Its battery life can go for over 2 years. The high-tech yellow device came to life, flashing a light from its back rudder when Teledyne glider support manager Cordy Goodrich plugged in a small fob. The assembled crowd gathered round for photos. Wandering away from the spotlight, I found Rutgers students staffing a table full of mission information and also piles of hand-drawn artwork, the work of fourth-grade school children. The Red Wing glider will be doing a lot of heavy science data collection, but it will also carry digitized versions of all the kids' letters, which will be downloaded at the glider's ports of call. According to a Rutgers press release, the mission also will connect classrooms around the world where students from those regions will join virtual sessions, share cultural stories, and even exchange letters with the Rutgers students. One letter that caught the camera's attention was from 9-year-old Mia. She lists her favorite pastime as drawing and wants to be a pet groomer when she grows up. Her pencil drawing shows a masked scuba diver greeting a friendly shark. The Red Wing glider is now heading east to Spain. Rising to the surface occasionally to send back its scientific data, it's also on a globe-spanning pen pal mission, bringing greetings from American schoolchildren to its port of calls, hopefully joining us all a bit closer together. A most important mission. The other story in the Cape and Islands section, pedestrian hit by car and pinned to building in Sandwich by Desiree Nickfargem. A man in his 60s was hit by a vehicle and partially pinned to a building in Merchant Square in Sandwich on Friday, October 17th, according to a Sandwich Fire Department press release. Around 12:39 p.m., an ambulance crew arrived at 6 Merchants Road, Unit 7. The man's arms, torso, and legs were pinned between the building and the vehicle, said Fire Chief John Burke in a phone interview with the Times. Rescuers removed the man from the building and began life support measures, according to the press release. He suffered traumatic injuries, was transported to Beth Israel Deaconess Plymouth helicopter pad, where he was taken by Boston Med Flight to Tufts Medical Center in Boston. The Sandwich Building Department was called to assess the structural integrity of the building, and the Sandwich Police Department was investigating the incident, said Burke. Sandwich Police Department was not immediately available for comment or further details. That's all the local news, other than one obituary in today's Cape Cod Times. It's of James Hardy of Plymouth, who passed on October 7th. He was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota on December 18th of 1942 and grew up in Amherst. He attended Holyoke Community College and went on to graduate from Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa in 1965. James had a long and dedicated career in the insurance industry. He served on the Bicentennial Commission for Bellingham, Massachusetts, and was an active member of both the Jaycees and the Foxborough Lions Club. James was also an usher at Sullivan Stadium, a role he truly enjoyed, working in security. A huge New England Patriots fan, he took great pride in his game day duties. After ushering, he was responsible for sitting by the goalpost and pulling up the net for field goals and extra points, a special treat for an ardent fan. Jim was a loving father and husband who was loyal, compassionate, and funny all at the same time. That probably explains why his favorite Disney characters were Goofy and Donald Duck. Everyone who met him always commented on what a great man he was to his family. We ask that he's remembered for the impact he had on everyone he met. He had a rare gift for making others smile and laugh. He is survived by many family and friends. The celebration of life service and reception to honor the life of James Davenport Hardy will be held October 25th from 2 to 5 p.m. at East Bay Grill, 173 Water Street in Plymouth. A welcome and service is to be held at 2:30 p.m. In lieu of flowers, the family kindly requests donations to the New England chapter of the Parkinson's Foundation at parkinson.org/New England. To keep it local, we'll move to high school sports. In girls volleyball, much movement in this week's rankings. 3 previously unranked teams move into the top 5 by Adam Kirkjian. I feel like I say this every week, but there are some wild swings in these rankings. A lot of these teams are beating up on each other, so you see different teams take over these spots. The spots from 2 to 5 can really be anyone, and sometimes your guess is as good as mine. Except for one spot, and that's the number 1 position. Steadfast, stoic, and solid, Bourne has been my number 1 team from the start. Even the Canalmen lost this week, so who knows what will happen next. This has simply been a wild volleyball season, and I'm expecting that to continue as we get into the tournament. If the regular season is any indication, more upheaval is coming. Now on to the rankings. Bourne, 13-2. They were 1 last week. Yes, there was a sweep loss to Duxbury on October 16th, but a couple of points with that. Duxbury's undefeated, one of the favorites to win the Division II state title. Also, the 3 sets were all very close. I wouldn't sell my Bourne stock at all because of that setback. Bourne is still the number 1 team in Division 4. Everybody played well in that Duxbury loss. This is still the top team in the area. Next is Barnstable. They weren't rated last week. 10-7 is their record. Look who's making a big move with some standout play over the last week. The Red Hawks have won 4 straight matches and seem to be rounding into form as they prepare for the state tournament. St. John Paul II is 3rd. Last week they were ranked 5th. Their record is 10-10. A bit of an up-and-down week for the Lions, who lost to Falmouth and Nauset, but they beat Calvary Chapel Academy. This is a talented team that can play with just about anyone when it's playing well. Sturgis East is 4th. They were not rated last week. They're 8-4 as a record. This is another team making a big move over the last week. The Storm have won 5 matches in a row, with wins over Monomoy, Mashpee, and Rising Tide among them. The Storm are only number 40 in Division 4, but they're playing their best at the right time. Dennis Yarmouth is ranked 5. They weren't ranked last week. They're 8-9 as a record. The Dolphins are really making a move. This team has beaten Sandwich this week and also owns 2 wins over Nauset. This squad started off slow, but is really making a big late-season push. Honorable mention is Nauset at 9-7. The The Warriors took a tough loss to Barnstable, but are still one of the top teams in the area, number 44 in Division III. Cape Tech is 8-7 in honorable mentions. The Crusaders earned a quality win over Bristol Aggie and check in at number 22 in Division 5. And Sandwich is an honorable mention at 8-9. The Blue Knights lost a tough one to Dennis Yarmouth, but are still number 21 in Division 4, so a lot to play for. And our final story, no Kings drew 7 million, organizers say. Trump protest may be the largest since Earth Day. By Zach Anderson, Roseanne Catani, Mark Robeson, Jennifer Cortez, Darcy Moran, Natalie Davies, and Monique Colello of USA Today. Millions of people turned out nationwide on October 18th to protest actions by the Trump administration and celebrate their constitutional rights to freedom of speech and assembly. Organizers estimated that 7 million people turned out for the protests. More than 2,700 took place. The crowds included older Americans who protested Vietnam or never protested anything before, veterans who said they didn't fight for a country led by a dictator, and young people who were frustrated by the lack of opportunities available to them. Many said they were upset by the Trump administration's treatment of immigrants and other vulnerable populations. If crowd estimates hold, the one-day No Kings event was the largest civil action in the U.S. since the first Earth Day 55 years ago. No major incidents or arrests were reported during the day. Republican leaders spoke out ahead of the Saturday protests, blaming them for the current government shutdown and labeling them unpatriotic and hate America rallies. House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican from Louisiana, said the protests were driven by the pro-Hamas wing and the Antifa people. No Kings organizers in Reno said such rhetoric inspired a spike of interest. The minute they started lying and scaremongering about our events, our numbers went ballistic, said Kimberly Carden of Indivisible Northern Nevada, a local organizing group. It's going to be historic. On California's agricultural Central Coast, Dolores Huerta, the 95-year-old union organizer and co-founder of the United Farm Workers, said the country was facing something most of us thought we would never see in the United States of America. Decades ago, Huerta and the late UFW co-founder Cesar Chavez organized farm workers in Watsonville and other California agricultural communities that rely on immigrant labor. Today, people, she said, are being terrorized. She called detention and deportation efforts by the administration ethnic cleansing of people of color, including those who are indigenous to the continent. Huerta, who was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2012, said, "We're going to resist and we're going to keep on protesting until it stops." Several hundred people turned out for the No Kings 2 protest at the Augusta County Courthouse in Staunton, Virginia. It's really sad to see what's going on, said Alice Gladwell, 22, of Richmond. I have trans friends that are scared for their lives. They're scared that they're not going to be able to be who they are, she said, tears streaming, apologizing for getting emotional. People of color don't feel safe anywhere, and it's very sad to see. Celeste Pleasance of Detroit, 74, was among hundreds protesting in Detroit October 18th. She's concerned with how Hispanic people are being treated. She doesn't like how Trump talks about people being felons when he's been convicted as well, and is worried about threats to vaccines. She's also concerned about voting rights, saying people fought for her right as a black woman to cast a ballot. People need to stand up and act, she said before sharing something she learned growing up. Sitting still and waiting never made one great. And with that, we've come to the end of our reading of the Cape Cod Times for today, Monday, October 20th of 2025. This is your reader, Eric, saying be well, be safe, look after each other, and remember our veterans, especially those we've lost recently. Bye for now.